I am seeing the replication of Maoism in woke America. Many of my American classmates, I don't think many of them are very interested in learning. For instance, when you claim there is a systemic racism in America.
There's systemic racism that's a stain on our nation's soul.
It's about a structure built on systemic racism.
The systemic racism and injustice that follows America around like a shackle.
Give me the facts, give me the data. They do not question, they just listen, okay. If you say so, then that must be the truth. I think for conservative Americans, if you want to save America, you really should teach more about Mao's China. Is this okay?
That's great. Yeah.
I'm from China, and I was born and raised in a very remote, small, very poor town in Sichuan province. We do not have industry in my hometown, so half the people, they work in governmental institutions as bureaucrats or teachers, doctors, and the other half, they just, like my parents, really just street vendors. I remember when I grew up, I cleaned my body maybe once a month because it was a real challenge task. You have to heat up the water and you put the water in a bucket. So that's how I did shower when I grew up. My father was born in the 1955 and a couple years older than my mother. Both of them are illiterate. So they literally struggled putting food on the table throughout their lives. For American audience, you have to understand in China, they don't really think about the government. For instance, my parents, they never read a newspaper in their whole life. And so they don't talk about the government. They just obey the authority. My parents and I, we visited my uncle and aunt, and we were on our way back to our home. And then I saw in an open yard a group of policemen. They were beating a civilian. This man, he was just lying on the ground and defenseless, begging for his life. I remember I said the exact word, "This is wrong." And my mother, she was so scared. She shushed me, and she said, "Stop talking. Just keep on walking." You know, in high school, I became a complete radical, a rebel. I just revolt against the Chinese education system. I refused to play their games. Instead, I find a heaven in a bookstore in our town. We had only one bookstore. But for whatever reason, there are actually some good books. I remember we have a selection of the Chinese translation of English novels. So I spent much of my spare time in that bookstore. And one day I just came across this book. It's called Chatting About America. So it's written by I think 2 or 3 Chinese scholars who visited America in the 1990s. They just depict a general pictures of American society. I was so mesmerized in that book. It's just drastically different from the society I was living in. It's almost like beyond the imagination. I had my college, 4-year college in China in the city of Guiyang, that's in Guizhou province. And 10 years later, I attended a master's program in the School of Public Policy at Pepperdine University in California. After I graduated from Pepperdine, I went back to China in 2017. I was staying there for more than a year before the fall of 2018. That's when I started my current doctoral program. I was actually surprised to see many of my American classmates. I don't think many of them are very interested in learning. I don't understand why those people choose to enter into a doctoral program if you are not interested in ideas. They're not. They don't question. They don't ask questions. When you, for instance, when you claim there is a systemic racism in America, give me the facts, give me the data, give me evidence. They do not question. They just listen. Okay, if you say so, then that must be the truth. Chinese schools, we call this Chinese education 应试教育, which means test-oriented education. Everything is about a credential. I think this credentialism is happening in America as well. Honestly, I really think today's American school has almost no difference from the Chinese school where I lived up with. I think before she, in the 1980s, 1990s, I would characterize Chinese politics as an authoritarian regime. She's predecessors, they did not invest so much energy and time in thought control. But now, with Xi rising to power, he really is trying to resurrect Maoism in China and mandate the official ideology in China. She actually just issued an edict asking all primary schools to teach a course. It's called Xi Jinping's Thought. Before we have the Mao Zedong thought, now we have Xi Jinping thought, and every Chinese student is required to study this course. America and also the Western societies, they have been thoroughly educated about Nazi Germany and some parts of Stalin's Russia. But they are so mind-boggling educated in Mao's China. I just don't understand why those academics who are well-versed in the atrocities of the 20th century, they don't talk much about Mao's China, even though Mao has created the most deadly regime in human history. During the period of the Great Leap Forward and followed by the Great Famine, according to a historian, Yang Zhishen's documentation, that campaign starved 36 million civilians, at least, within just 3 years. And somehow, American academics, they don't really talk much about Mao's China. Identity politics is really a very effective tool to divide people, to inculcate hatred and resentment. This trajectory really reminds me of the Chinese Cultural Revolution and Mao's famous struggle session. One characteristic of a totalitarian regime is to issue one official standard thought, the correct thought in society. And this is happening in both countries, in Xi's China and also in today's America, in woke America.